gentlemen. Hello everyone, I'm Ruth Teresa. I'm glad to see you right now. I would like to share to you about the material of the day. It's about managing your career. Discussion material is definition, theory of professional officer, the way how to manage career as officer, prospect and challenge, and for the last one is conclusion. This presentation will start from Ezra Yukonaru, for the second is Jody Firjatullah, for the third is Jala Puspita, for the fourth is Nadia, and for the last is me, Ruth Teresa Sitinjak. Well, ladies and gentlemen, group 2 is getting started. So now, let's move on the next topic.
My name is Ezra Yukonaru. You can call me Ezra. I'm from the second group, and I'm a student of Bachelor Degree of Office Administration Education B 2021, Faculty of Economics, State University of Jakarta. First of all is, what is career? Because many of us don't know what the meaning of career is. According to Oxford Dictionary, career is an occupation undertaken for a significant period of a person's life with opportunities in progress. And in general, career actually has two definitions. The word career is often used to refer to a profession, occupation, trade, or vocation. Career could define what you do for a living and range from those that require extensive training and education to those you can perform with only a high school diploma and a willingness to learn. A career could mean working as a doctor, lawyer, carpenter, veterinary assistant, electrician, cashier, teacher, or hairstylist. And why should we manage our career? First of all, it is very important for our life in the future. By managing our careers, we know what we want to achieve in the future. A career is a long-term professional journey you may determine based on your passion. It is the path you embark upon to fulfill your professional goals and ambitions. You may require a certain level of education or training to achieve this goal. Individuals pursuing careers often have set salaries with benefits such as stock options, retirement plans, pensions, and bonuses. They also gain benefits beyond money, such as personal pride, work, satisfaction, and self-worth. And here is a definition of career by Globe 1997. Expressing an individual career is a succession of work-related experience that a person experiences during his or her tenure. So an individual's career includes a variety of options from various opportunities, but from an organizational perspective, career is a new process of task like generation.
Hello everyone, my name is Jody Firjatullah. You can call me Jody, and I am from second group. I am a student, Bachelor of Office Administration, Education B, Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Jakarta. In this change, allow me please to tell you about theory of professional officer. For the first is professional officer. So, what the meaning of professional officer? The mean is a person appointed and employed by the union to undertake either industrial, relation, or research work. And for the second is professional office. So what the mean of professional office? The mean is a building or particular in which a legal, medical, or other professional service is performed or consultation given, including but not so as to limit the generality of the foregoing.
Hello everyone, my name is Sheila Puspitanggreni. You can call me She or Sheila. I'm from Group 2. I'm a student of Bachelor of Office Administration Education, B, Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Jakarta. In this meeting, I want to tell you about the way how to manage career as officer. There are 8 ways to make meaningful progress toward effectively managing your career. First, develop a long-term career aspiration plan. As employers, we will not know what will happen to us in this company in the future, because good and bad things can happen at any time. But by developing a long-term plan can be useful for us so that we have goals to achieve in this company. Don't develop your plan based on how much money you can make. Instead, develop your career goals while thinking about job satisfaction to determine what will give you a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. Explore your strengths, needs, interests, and aspirations to drive your plan. 2. Break it up with short-term action items. After you determine your long-term goal, begin breaking up that goal into a short-term action items. As you plan this, identify potential developmental opportunities, such as first, skill building classes, second, externally provided professional development program, third, on-the-job training, fourth, trust guidance, such as from a mentor or advisor. As you seek career and development feedback, view it as a gift and apply the necessary changes. Recognizing your skills and talent that you have is more important because it is the first step to achieving the long-term goals you have planned. 3. Don't shy away from opportunities, regardless of discomfort. When there is an opportunity to get a position in a project, don't hesitate to take the opportunity. Even though the project has risks that we are not used to, rather than regretting before doing it, it is better to do it while learning a lot from experience to reach your career goals. Be open-minded and consider taking risks because playing it safe might make it harder for you to achieve your career aspiration. Show that you are capable of handling increased responsibility. Look the part, pay attention to the people in the position you are seeking. How do they dress and carry themselves? Watch those who are successful at what you aspire to be or do and make appropriate changes. 4. Use tools and resources provided by your company. Seek out people and areas, specifically people in human resource, whose goal it is to be a valuable resource tool and for you. 1. Talk to the talent acquisition team about interviewing techniques and to gain some practice. 2. Ask the recruiters if they had be willing to review and critique your resume. 3. Talk to people who work in competition to gain an understanding of the minimum experience and skills requirements of certain positions. 4. Meet with the folk in the benefits area to learn about what sort resources may be available, like tuition reimbursement and or professional certification reimbursement. Ask them about other perks that may help you reach your career goals. 5. Definitely get to know the professional and talent development whose job it is to support you in training and skill development. The talent development team can also provide needed assessment that will help you set priorities and assess your work style and strengths. 5. Type your colleagues effectively. Initiate a conversation with your manager. Talk to him or her about where you want to go and what you want to do. Ask your manager for assistance is noting your strengths and the areas you need to develop in order to get to the next step. Take action as needed. Ask for feedback as you work toward this end. But don't just solicit feedback from only your manager, also tap your peers. We all have room for improvement. We can't fix what we don't know is wrong. 6. Understand the culture of your organization. As you work to effectively manage your career, make sure you understand your organization culture and pursue your aspiration the right way. Be humble as you describe your career aspirations. Demonstrate that you want to improve in your current job as you work to take on different assignments. Be coachable. Work harder and smarter and demonstrate the desire to learn and grow. 7. Get out there and build your network. Be sure to go about building your network in a genuine way. Networking is about relationship building. This is not transactional. Work to get to know people, allow people to get to know you, volunteer for assignments to build skills and connections. The last one is don't be afraid of failure. Earlier, we discussed taking risks. Your career journey won't be a straight line to your goal, but don't allow the fear of inevitable failure to deter you. You might apply for a role and not get it, but instead of giving up and feeling defeated, ask why you didn't get the role and what you should work on in order to be better positioned for it in the future. Get comfortable being uncomfortable and know that failures offer your best learning opportunities.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you know some important things you need to consider in planning your career? That's why I'm here. I want to share you some that important things. Point 1. Ability. Try it by starting to relearn yourself. Remember what things you can do very well. This could be in accordance with the educational background you use to take on new abilities that you have explored afterwards. Point 2. Interest. Doing something you don't like usually gives you unexpected results. Therefore, choose a career that is in line with your interests. Especially if you are young, don't be afraid to learn and try. Many people are successful in their career because they give their best in the work they are passionate about. Point 3 is company. In addition to considerations from within yourself, you must also be observant in choosing the company where you work. This is important because a good company will help you achieve the career you have planned. On the other hand, a bad company will not take your career anywhere. You may not even gain additional knowledge or anything after working there. In choosing a company, try to see how the company supports employees both in the work atmosphere, the opportunities provided for self-development in projects, or the opportunity to get a higher career path.
There is a quote that's suitable with this topic. Remember, you are the CEO of your career. Your vision of success is an individual one, and only you can determine what success looks like for you. You are the driver in your career.
Hello, my name is Nadia. I am from Group 2. I am a student of Bachelor of Office Administration Education, Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Jakarta. I will tell you about prospect and challenge as an officer.
What is prospect and challenge? Prospect is an opportunity that occurs because of a person who is meeting the needs of his life and as well as to get a profit or profit. Challenge can be described as the extent to which a job is stimulating and interesting. Challenging jobs provide an opportunity to strengthen, develop, and learn skills applicable to the work world.
How to improve your career prospect? First, improve your soft skills. These are more technical skills that can improve the way you do work. These include social skills like debating as well as discipline, time management, and flexibility. They are not specific to one job but are helpful almost any way to make things smooth. Most of these skills are not taught formally like school subjects. Instead, the best way to build them is to practice as often as you can. For example, you can practice your time management by jotting down a plan or schedule for a regular day. Think careful about how much time each activity is likely to take and ensure you have a contingency plan in case something takes much longer than it should. Especially in the context of applying for a job and interviewing, communication skills are perhaps the most important that you can be able to impress potential employer before you can land a job. And your standing with the company is only likely to strengthen by better people skills such as an ability to resolve conflict, lead well, and work efficiently in a team. Number 2 is build up your network for useful advice and opportunities. This is a really useful method of boosting your career prospect. You can build a group of contacts who can answer your question about a career path you are considering, get a sort of advice for how to go about improving your prospect, and you can even connect to others' network via the people in your own network. Point number 3 is get experience. Sometimes the main thing holding you back from career success can be a lack of experience in the relevant field. If you want to branch into a different career, it's worth trying to pick up some experience via internship or volunteering that will show employer that you know what you are doing, as well as help you to make the decision about which career path is right for you. Skill and experience really depend on the field you are looking at, so check specialist website or build a network to get some helpful advice. Point number 4 is build up your CV. Like any kind of application document, CV needs work to make sure they stand out. The average CV is only view for around 3 seconds. This means that firstly, they need to be short enough to show that a lot of important information is not written up during this short viewing time.
Challenge. First, emotional intelligence. A successful officer must understand their own emotional and those of their teammates in order to develop a healthy company culture. High emotional intelligence will help you manage conflict, promote equality and inclusion, and develop talent. 2. An excellent communication skill are required. Officer must be able to communicate with the people. Excellent verbal and written communication skills are vital for this role. Point number 3 is creative problem-solving skills are required. It encourages you find fresh perspective and come up with innovative solutions so that you can formulate a plan to overcome obstacles and reach your goals. Point number 4 is you will need to learn how to chit chat. On the other hand, you don't want to come off as super serious and nothing but, especially when you are meeting a client for the first time. A little general chit chat can go a long way toward making you look human and your client comfortable. The last point is your paperwork must be in a good order. If you are using a tablet, smartphone, or laptop, that's great. But whatever you show the client will need to be organized, neat, and understandable. Whatever is a project plan or an invoice, always double check your number.
Hey folks, this is Kim. Welcome to LiveMoreNow.net. As I said, I want to talk today about what I would consider the 5 most common career mistakes that people make and how we're going to avoid them. Starting with number 1, letting other people make career decisions for you. No matter how well intended your boss, your spouse, your friends may be, ultimately the decision needs to lie in your heart or in your gut. Getting advice is always a good idea, but you gotta kind of buffer it again with what you feel within yourself. I would recommend seeking out a person in the business world who you look up to, who you might aspire to be, and solicit their advice. Also, please consider that sometimes not making a decision is a decision, and sitting back, exercising some patience with an open mind will sometimes allow the answer to reveal itself to you. I'm always plugging my favorite app, but I would strongly recommend Headspace.com, where they have some really simple, guided meditation exercises that could help you with that. Number 2, don't burn a bridge. Basically, just don't do it. No matter how angry you are or how cool the next opportunity may seem, you got to stop yourself and think 6 months, 1 year, 5 years down the road, and realize that you never know who you're going to bump into in the future. Especially if you're in a really specialized industry where it's small and everybody seems to know each other. Now, if you have already burnt a bridge, then fix it. I would recommend putting together a small, short, brief, handwritten note to that person and let them know that you regret the way that you handled that situation and you wouldn't do it again, and that you hope they'll accept your sincere apology. I found most people are willing to do so, again, as long as that apology is sincere. If you're not feeling sincere about it, then maybe you need to do some soul searching. Number 3, taking your job for granted. If you are phoning it in and you think that you're indispensable to the company, I suggest you reevaluate. Very, very rarely, I've never really seen in my circumstances where one person is actually indispensable, unless maybe you're the only person who works for your company. Not only is that going to affect you personally, you're certainly not going to build any support from your teammates. So be wary of overstaying your welcome. If this is where you find yourself regularly, I would strongly recommend looking into finding another position, whether it's within the company or another company entirely. Number 4, constantly fighting the way things are. If you're coming across as inflexible or constantly complaining about how screwed up things are or bitching around the water cooler, that really doesn't help anyone. Not only could that impact your personal life, your family might feel that stress. It doesn't add any value professionally speaking. If you do have sincere, legitimate concerns or grievances, make sure that you're speaking to the people who can actually impact change. Otherwise, it's just hot air. Now, if you do approach the leadership of the company to express those concerns, make sure that you have a little bit of humility and realize that it's highly likely that you don't have the whole story. A lot of times there's some decisions that are being made behind closed doors that impact the big picture that might explain some of the inefficiencies that you find yourself constantly complaining about. So again, before you march into your boss's office, exercise a little bit of humility, realizing that there might be a lot of things that you're not aware of. And number 5, most importantly, I would say one of the most common mistakes that people make is putting their career before their personal life. So you need to set personal goals. I know that this is a major cliche, but do you want to live to work or work to live? And most of us want to work to live. So you need to write down those goals, put them up somewhere, and make sure that they're constantly front of mind, whether that's more family time, travel, hobbies, education, saving for retirement, whatever it may be. Those are going to help guide your decisions along the way. Nobody's ever been on their deathbed expressing gratitude for how much time they spent at work. So keep those personal goals in mind, and that, like I said, that'll help guide your career decisions along the way. So there you go. Those are what I would consider the 5 most common career mistakes, and hopefully you'll be able to avoid those. Thank you so much for visiting livemorenow.net.
It started with this cane. I suffered a knee injury, and while I will soon have surgery and be able to walk normally again, my orthopedist assures me that my running days are over. Now, for those of you who only run when chased, you may be thinking, what a stroke of luck, a doctor-sanctioned excuse not to work out. But since taking up running after college, it's become more than just a pastime for me, but part of who I am. Runner has become one of my identities, and giving up that identity has turned out to be more painful than the injury itself. Now, like everybody, I have a lot of identities. I am a woman, a mother, an American, a proud native of Rhode Island. I've had a number of professional identities in my life: tour guide, camp counselor, school teacher, graduate student in developmental psychology, podcast host, career counselor. And it is through my career counseling practice that I've come to recognize how personal identities can affect and create professional identities. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how and why this is so, but first I'd like to address why it's important. According to Gallup, 87% of employees worldwide are not engaged in their work. Now, there are a lot of people who study this phenomenon, largely because it has a pretty substantial effect on the bottom line. Now, the organizations and consultants that study this tend to look at the external factors for why people are not engaged, things like office culture or wages. As a career counselor, I'm more interested in internal reasons, like why someone chose a particular line of work in the first place. And my field of career development has looked at this somewhat differently over time. Of course, throughout much of human history, people didn't actually choose a line of work. You basically did whatever your parents did. And what you did for a living was prescribed by where you were from, your gender, and your social class. But during the first and second industrial revolutions, as people started moving from the farms into the cities, the world of work broadened. And the very first career counseling office opened in 1908. The Vocational Bureau was located in Boston's North End neighborhood and served the local community free of charge to help them navigate this new world of work. They interviewed them extensively about their backgrounds, skills, and interest, and provided background about local employers. Now, obviously, this wasn't a particularly widespread phenomenon, but the military started to take an interest in their work. They needed to figure out a way of putting workers placed into jobs to help serve the war efforts during World War I and World War II. And by the Second World War, they had a lot of psychologists that they had hired to develop tests specifically for this purpose. Some of these tests are actually still used today in various forms, and it's possible that some of you have taken them, maybe through a high school guidance counselor or through an employer. Now, by the time I started in the field of career counseling in the late 90s, we were in the midst of the third industrial revolution, the digital age. And the testing industry was still alive and well, but by then a new paradigm had emerged that held that what we really needed to be concerned about was our clients' passions. Do what you're passionate about and you'll never work a day in your life, right? I remember early on attending a professional development session with a woman who was considered one of the biggest names in my field, a very successful author. She told a story of a client with whom she had worked who was really difficult simply because she didn't have any clearly articulated passions. Finally, one day in desperation, the counselor said to her, "Give me a sense of something you're interested in, anything at all." The woman kind of shrugged somewhat sheepishly and said, "Well, I've always been kind of interested in gorillas." Triumphant, the counselor announced that she had gone on to work for a local zoo, and voila, problem solved, passion wins. Now, at the time, I was working with business students who, generally speaking, were not interested in gorillas. In fact, I found that the dirty little secret of most MBAs was that they had gone back to school because they didn't like their first jobs out of college. And they were looking for a socially acceptable way of hitting the restart button. If I suggested to them that they should find their passion, they would respond that they were tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and that while they were interested in finding a good professional fit, they were primarily interested in generating a paycheck. Now, over the last 10 or 15 years, there's actually been quite a bit of pushback around the idea of passion dictating career decisions. And there's a couple of reasons for why this is. One is that most people have no earthly idea what their passions are. But another reason for this pushback comes from fear of the fourth industrial revolution. What difference does it make if we're passionate about something if artificial intelligence is going to take away all the jobs? Even those who embrace our robot overlords will admit that no one really knows what the jobs are going to be 20, 10, even 5 years down the road. So how do we help people navigate career decisions in this new world order? One potential framework that has emerged from this conversation comes actually from the field of design. The design thinking process holds that designers work with clients to really get to know them well, understand their problems, help define them. They work with them to brainstorm possible ideas and prototypes, and then test out possible solutions. Those who are proponents of applying design thinking to career decision making holds that people who are working today will need to go through a lot of different iterations for the jobs that they do. They might have to try on many different selves and avoid prematurely foreclosing on any one area. The problem with that is that most people don't have the self-awareness to do that well. Most people don't take the time to figure out who they are before making a decision about what they want to be. Now, if there's one thing that we have learned from the fields of behavioral economics and psychology in recent years is that we as humans are not nearly as rational as we thought we were. For example, we are predisposed to make bad financial decisions, like spending too much money today and not saving enough for our future selves to enjoy retirement. I suggest that we are just as irrational about making career decisions. Let me give you an example. A number of years ago, I was working with a law student. She came into my office very upset. She had just received her grades for the year and realized that she had done so poorly that she was going to be locked out of the jobs that would pay her the kind of salary that was going to be necessary to pay back her considerable law school loans. As she sat there sobbing in my office, she admitted that she simply did not like the study of law. So I said to her, "Well, what made you decide to go to law school?" "Because I didn't want to go to medical school." Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I submit to you that most people do not make career decisions rationally, but rather based on deeply held, often unconscious biases that they receive from their social surround. They're highly influenced by their parents, their peers, their local communities. And they internalize a lot of these biases that they see around them, and they tend to then follow others into things that they have done as well. They also tend to internalize messages that they are receiving from their local and national cultures, particularly around personal identities like gender, race, religion, or socioeconomic status, and will tend to either embrace or foreclose on options accordingly, particularly if they anticipate barriers for success. And let's acknowledge that a lot of people do face barriers to success, particularly along the lines of gender, race, religion, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation. But this is exactly why I think self-awareness is so important. Because not only can it help us not internalize these biases that are coming from culture, but also help keep us from making false assumptions about others when it comes time for us to do the hiring. What is tricky is that each of us as individuals will internalize and make decisions upon a lot of these unconscious as well as conscious personal identities at different times throughout our lives. And this is going to be constantly in flux. For those of you who are more quantitatively oriented, allow me to present this as an equation, with career identity being the sum of every possible identity you could have, all influencing you in different ways in different periods of time, a lot of it unconscious. But I will admit this is not my favorite analogy. I tend to think of all of those individual variables, all of those identities coming together as not an equation, but as a script, a deeply personal life and career narrative that tells the story of who we are and guides our decisions. This is why in the fourth industrial revolution, we cannot program computers to make career decisions for us. A script is deeply personal, but we also must learn not to just follow it to the letter. We must learn to understand it and question it. Your script is iterative. And like any writing process, it's likely to be messy. I urge you to embrace that messiness. Own your story, and don't let others write it for you. And know that this process has always been messy. If one of my identities is former runner, another of my identities is liberal arts college graduate. And as such, I cannot end a presentation without including a quote from a dead white guy. So I offer you this from Cicero to underscore that throughout time, this is the most difficult problem in the world. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Ruth Teresa Sitinjak. You can call me Tere. I'm from Group 2. I'm a student of Bachelor Degree Office Administration Education B, Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Jakarta. In this meeting, I want to tell you about conclusion. Career planning takes a lot of work, but there is nothing more rewarding than doing something you enjoy and getting paid for it. Enjoy the process because it will be ongoing practice throughout your working life. Change is consistent, and most of us will need to make several adaptations to our career path throughout our lifetime. The skills you learn today will certainly help set up your success for the future. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the presentation of our group. If you are mistaken, we apologize. Thank you for your attention. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you.